Good evening. Good evening. I just want to call a couple of things to your attention. First, we'd like to welcome you and thank you for coming to the community forum tonight. We want to say for those of you who we may have missed at the door, if you made a comment prior to tonight at the budget hearing from several weeks ago, if you turned in one of those comment cards that looks like this, we did record your comment, whether or not you were able to stand before the board and address your comment. We want you to know that tonight we are going to honor your comment tonight. So we want those folks who have already filled out a comment card from several weeks ago, but you were unable to, because of time constraints, we're not able to address the board. We're going to take you first tonight. According to my list, I have 3 people who will be coming up when I call your name. You will have 3 minutes to address the board and have your question or concern spoken to. Just 3 minutes, because we do want to respect the time and we want to get to everyone tonight, as this is the final community forum on this topic for now. So we want you to please come up. As always, we of course expect and appreciate your participation and your respect of the process. We are also asking, if you hear that an answer has already been given to your question, please allow your question to pass if it's been answered. Okay, so we're going to begin. Also, I want to notate down here at the other podium is Melissa Berta. She has all of the comment cards from those of you who filled out one tonight. So if she's going to call your name, and hopefully we can get you lined up, 3 people at a time, and then we're just going to, in tandem, go one and then the other. So we're going to begin with...
Excuse me.
Sure.
So as Natalie has graciously explained everything to you, we'll now like to call the meeting to order.
Oh, please.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coletti? Ms. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Heisel?
Here.
Mr. Rose?
Here.
Ms. Sanders?
Here.
Mr. President?
Here.
And Secretary here.
Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And just before we turn the mic over to Natalie and everyone in the room, Mr. Rogers has a brief statement,
Sure.
Some brief information to go over.
Right. The first thing that I wanted to do before we open up for comments, because it may help craft certain people's statements that may be here for some of the issues that were talked about last time. I promised to bring some information to your attention that would help in your understanding of what the board had to look at. There were 3 issues that I felt that were brought up at the last meeting that needed to have some additional information brought to your attention. One is, I don't know, how many people were here at the last meeting or saw it over the internet, but there was repeatedly a question that was brought up about a lawsuit that was filed against the district, I believe this year, over an incident last year. It did make the newspaper. It was, without going into it, it was a certain young lady who was a senior at our high school who filed a lawsuit actually against Crete police as well as the school district for the use of excessive force in a discipline issue. And there was a certain dollar amount that this young lady is going after, and there were people who were concerned that part of the reason why we're making reductions is because we have to pay the lawsuit. I want to clear that up right now. First of all, it hasn't even started yet as far as officially in court. Second of all, if anything does come of the lawsuit in terms of a settlement, it is paid for out of our insurance, not out of the Board of Education's budget. And thirdly, there were some people who were mentioning, are our insurance premiums going to go up if we have to settle that lawsuit with any kind of large settlement? And the answer to that is no also. And the reason being is because we changed liability insurance companies this year. And so the company that we started with does have to finish up their obligation to us, and they have no chance to raise the premiums because we have a new liability insurance carrier. So that's the first issue that I thought was important to address. The second one is about Talala Elementary School becoming a kindergarten center. And if you would look at the handout that was given to you tonight, it's the last page. It's in color, yellow, blue, and green. And I would just like to go over this for a minute because I knew that there were still some people that didn't understand how you can save money by redistributing the Talala students across the district. If you look in the first column, you see the current schools as we have them now, Balmoral, Crete, Monee, and Talala, and the number of students that is in each one of those schools by grade level. So I want to concentrate on first grade because everything else works the same. And as you see, there are 37 first graders at Talala, and we have a total of 14 first grade teachers in the district. We have 297 first graders. We have an average class size of 21. If you move to the green box and if you take the 37 students at Talala Elementary and divide them among the 3 remaining schools, which would be Balmoral, Crete, and Monee, if you divide that 37 up sort of equally as much as possible, if you put 13 more students at Balmoral, 12 more at Crete, 12 more at Monee, you see that you have the 37 again. You also see that Balmoral went from 87 first grade students to 100 first grade students. Crete goes from 76 first grade students to 88 students. Monee goes from 97 first grade students to 109 students, which still gives you the 297 first grade students. The number doesn't change, but what changes is that the teachers don't follow the students, which means that now you have 14 teachers in one scenario, you only have 12 teachers in the second scenario, and your class size goes up by 4, which is from a 21 average to a 25 average. And so if you repeat that over and over again for second through third through fourth through fifth, what you basically do is you save 2 teachers per grade level, which is 10 teachers, and if you multiply that times their salary and the benefits that you pay, you would almost save $500,000 by redistributing the smaller school across the 3 larger schools. And what was brought up, at the last meeting was, well, why don't we, take all of the 6th graders and, so to speak, close that school, close the 6th grade center instead of Talala. First of all, we're not closing Talala, we're just putting a different set of kids there. But it doesn't work when you're talking about a grade level that doesn't exist in other schools, because all the 6th graders are at the 6th grade center, so if you put them into the rest of the elementary schools, those teachers do have to follow them because they don't have a 6th grade teacher to put the kids into their classroom, if you understand what I'm saying. So to take all the 6th graders and put them back into our K-5 buildings doesn't save you anything other than the cost of running the old high school, which isn't, we've calculated it, it doesn't save a lot. You might save $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in utilities, but there's a part of the building that still has to stay up and running because we have our technology department over there and our maintenance department in the basement. So that is the thinking when people ask, well, I don't see how you're saving any money. This, is sort of in writing, how you do the savings. The last issue that I just want you to understand the numbers. Again, I want to make it very clear to you that the board has not made a decision yet. That's the purpose of having these community forums. But I want to talk about our instrumental music program versus athletics versus non-instrumental and so on. Again, I just want to show you the numbers that were put in front of the board. And the first set of numbers I want you to look at is right behind the agenda. There's a table that says sports. And it says coaching stipend, yearly equipment, uniform rotation, and so on. These are the sports that we have at the high school and the coaching stipends that we pay for our coaches, the equipment costs, the uniform costs, the transportation costs, dues and fees for different tournaments and so on, officials, workers, and so on. There is a per sport cost, and there is also the number of athletes served, the total, our sporting budget, and this is just the high school alone, is around $468,000. There's 678 athletes served, and if you divide the two, it's basically $691 per student cost. Okay? The main thing, you know, that I want you to look at is the fact that our total sports program is about $450,000 if you round it down. All right? If you turn the page, you see a box on your left called instrumental music. I don't even want to call it band because it's not about, you know, band versus something else. What we looked at is just the cost of instrumental music, and we added actually a fifth teacher on here because unfortunately, one of the reductions that is being listed is a instrumental program at the high school that's just an instrumental program that's not the band program, but it is an instrumental program. And when you add up the salaries, we have basically 3 full-time instrumental music teachers, a fourth one if you include the one that's at the high school for what this person teaches, and a part-time person. Unfortunately, you might have gotten the copy that we didn't want you to see, the actual salaries, but if you have that, that's fine, because you could have FOI'd it, but we don't have the names. Salaries alone come up to $344,000, and extra duty cost around the program is $166,000, which is roughly $500,000. And if anyone said, I cannot believe we're spending $166,000 just in extra cost for the program, we put what those extra costs over to the right. And there are, sectional instructors during different seasons. There's marching band, jazz band, orchestral, club, pep band, et cetera, et cetera. There's supplies, there's travel, and so on. Just for travel in district for our instrumental program is almost $76,000, which means that the students meet, I believe it's once a week or twice a week for general rehearsals, and they come from 4 or 5 different schools, and they have to be picked up in the morning and transported to the school and then taken back to their home schools after the rehearsal. When you do that over a year's time, that alone is almost $100,000 cost in transportation. When you look at non-instrumental music, and there's 3 music programs that are non-instrumental in our district, one at the high school, one at the middle school, and one at the elementary school, at Coretta Scott King in particular. Again, you look at salaries, you look at the extra duty costs for that program, you're talking about $236,000. The issue for the board is that you just need to understand a couple of things. Number one, when you talk about a program, and I understand and the board clearly understands, you're going to have to trust us on this, we understand the value of a music program. There is research on music that says that it helps with academics and so on. But when you're forced to cut X amount of dollars, and when you have a program that equates and could even be larger than your entire high school athletic program, you're talking $500,000 for one program, you're talking about $468,000 for your entire sporting program for all seasons. All I'm saying is it's something that the board has to look at. It jumps off the page when you look at it in that terms. That here's one program that's $500,000. Here's 16 programs that add up to the same thing. And again, has the board made the decision? No, they have not made that decision. But to say, I've heard everything for, we're being targeted, we're being, sort of called out. One of the reasons why it has brought attention to the board is because of the cost of the program. Now, one last thing that I know that's been, I've gotten lots of emails, and that is, well, can we at least talk, well, two things, actually. One is, why aren't sports being looked at? And one of the things I will tell you is that, no, on the website, it did say that at this time sports or clubs weren't really being looked at. But I will tell you, with new information that's coming to us daily from the state, that I will tell you now that sports is going to have to be looked at in some way or fashion. So to say that sports isn't going to be looked at is not true. Does the board have a decision again about sports? No. Or clubs? No. But will it be looked at? Yes. And the last and final thing that I will say that I've heard that I think needs to be addressed is there any way to save part of the program as far as instrumental music rather than to just delete the entire program? And again, you may not agree with the thinking, but at least here's the thinking. And again, we're not saying that it won't change. We're not saying that the board isn't considering this. What makes an instrumental program difficult to do it in parts is that you have to have a commitment, if you're going to go that route, to pare it down, that you have to make the commitment to bring it back in stages. You can't say, we'll pare it down and keep it in its pared down form. What I mean by that is this. If you were to say, well, let's just keep the high school program for 1 year, and hopefully, as time comes, we can build it back. Well, you almost have to make that decision in year 2, because a high school program cannot exist without a feeder program. Otherwise, if there's not 5th and 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade kids in a strong band program, you're basically signing off on the high school program that eventually it will die a natural death because there's no kids coming up underneath it to support it. And neither can you do it the other way, where you say, well, let's get rid of the band program at the high school and middle school and let's deal with our elementary band. That's fine too, but the moment that you make that decision, let's say we're only going to have a 5th grade band and we'll build it a year at a time, well, it's the same thing. As soon as that year is over, the expectation is what will happen in 6th grade. Will we have a 6th grade band? Or if you have a 5-6 band and it ends at 6th grade, will they have a place to go in 7 and 8, or will it stop? So where the difficulty is the future. And if we've been looking at the newspapers, and tomorrow, well, actually this Wednesday is going to have a lot of impact on the board's thinking. Governor Quinn supposedly is going to be delivering his budget address where he's basically saying that he's cutting funding for schools next year by another $1.5 billion. And we've already done the figures that $1.5 billion loss in revenue to the state and to us in particular would be anywhere from another $2 to $3 million loss in revenue, which means this board may be faced with more cuts, not just the cuts that we have seen over the last couple of weeks, but we actually may be forced to look at more cuts. So when you start talking about a band program that you want to do partially, you have to, first of all, make the decision, will you be able to sustain a partial program and build on it? And in light of a very insecure revenue situation, that's a situation that the board is going to have to wrestle with as to would they want to make that type of a gamble or that type of decision on revenue that may even be shrinking more so than increasing. So again, I'm not asking for anyone to agree with me tonight or the board, but I felt that it was owed to this public because those two issues for sure, the issue of Talala and the issue of ban, were probably dominated the discussion at our last meeting. And so to talk about numbers and you not see the numbers, I felt you deserved to see the numbers that the board was looking at. Now again, you can disagree, you can go up one side and down the other as far as I don't believe this, whatever you want to say. But these are the numbers that the board is looking at, and these are the decisions that they have to make with your comments, and they are listening. So with that said, I'll turn it over to President Sevier.
I just want to read the rules for the public hearing. Respect is mandatory. Public comments cards must be completed. We prefer that you print with name and contact information in order to be addressed by the Board of Education. A designee of the superintendent will review comment cards and allow only one comment question on any given topic. Each public comment or question will be limited to 3 minutes. The total public comment session will be limited to 3 hours. The Board of Education reserves the right to eliminate duplicate questions. So with that said, we're going to get started. Natalie, first question.
I'm going to call all three from the previous meeting who had comments. Ms. Dorothy Margraf, George Pearson, and Tricia Zellis. You can come up to this mic on this side or that side. Ms. Margraf, and Mrs. Margraf has handouts which we have passed to all of you.
Am I first? Okay. I thank you for the privilege of addressing the board and the administration. I'm very concerned about the music program. My sons are graduates of Crete, Monee, but more important right now, I'm a taxpayer. And I think as a taxpayer, I have even more say than parents as to what goes on in this school district. This school district, according to the New York Times, is 57%. The majority is really the minority. And times are still difficult for people who are the minority, even though they're the majority. Because things are difficult, and all school districts are not equal in what they produce, I don't know how many students come out of Crete, Monee and graduate from college. I don't know how many go on to the Ivy League schools. We don't have that information. But I think that's important. And to do that, to get children, no matter their color, into the best possible programs and into the best possible colleges, we need the best possible programs. Music is one of those programs. I think that the handout that I gave you and that I will be willing to give, I brought many extra copies to anyone who is interested in the music program. Neuroeducation is a new field of research. Neuroeducation has shown that music trains different parts of the brain. It goes beyond training of the brain just in the area of words. People who take music programs are more creative. They're able to, music is another language, so it's equivalent to being another language. Music programs develop group loyalty. They gather group spirit. Word programs are generally for the person. There is no overall feeling about an English class, or I don't know what they call it these days, social studies or math skills or whatever. There is no group organization when it comes to classes. That's just an individual. But music teaches those who are part of it many, many other skills. I make a comment here. I have web sources. Dana.org is an academic organization that's focused on studying brain function. Neuroeducation is a new area. They have shown that music programs develop these skills. They develop parts of the brain that are not developed in any other way. I've given that on this handout. I've given the Dane organization. I've given on Facebook, there is a thread that says, I bet I can find 1 million people who think music education is important. And in less than a month, they've signed up 274,000 people who say that, and they've posted why they think music education is important. There's also a Crete Monee department on Facebook. There's been very little comment on it. I think most people are aware that the deed is done and that fighting back is useless. Based on the number of people who have come, they probably think that the deed is done. If you want your students to move into the top levels of citizenry, in the top places, they should be prepared to fit in. Music and the arts are bonding measures for people who want to go to the top. As you know, Coretta Scott King, that United Nations program, which is let's say a fast-track program, is getting music. The rest of the students should get that same kind of effort.
That's 3 minutes. So.
My time is up?
Yes.
Fine. I'll be standing by the door to hand out for anyone who wants a copy of this handout. You may have lost the battle this time, but if you get and know what you're fighting for next time, maybe you'll fight a little harder. Thank you.
Good. No comment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent. I, too, kind of agree with Mrs. Margraf. I was really expecting a lot more of a turnout here tonight. As a parent and a taxpayer who has been in this school district now for 10 years, 2000, I moved into Monee area. I've paid the taxes, and I have children invested in this community, 3 children and 1 at home, possibly waiting, depending on how things turn out over the next few weeks. I spent all day today down in Springfield. All of this week and all next week is lobby day in the state capitol. And what would be a surprise to most of you that are sitting in this room is the amount of money that exchanged hands on both sides of the party down there. Most of them could not get a meeting with most of your state reps and your state legislators unless they were walking in with checks. That will be going on all week long. My question that I had posed the last board minute I attended, was what was the unions planning to do to assist with educating our students here? What I have watched all the unions, especially in here tonight, the teachers unions do is overlook you guys, overlook us as parents, and say to the teachers, we'll give you a little bit of information about what's coming from the board and won't allow you guys to make the choices. We'll make it for you. We'll keep the teachers out there. We'll have them stand in picket lines other than actually sitting inside of a classroom or taking a pay cut. Most of the teachers in this district are living or receiving a salary that is above most of the means of the residents that live here. You're looking at $90,000 a year for some teachers here, where the median income in this district, yes it is, and that's posted online, $90,000 and higher. That's posted. These salaries are posted. It's free information. The median salary of the residents around here is $45,000 a year. You're asking people to pay a certain amount to teachers that are twice their median income. The way the school systems are being funded is unbelievable. Go online. The Illinois Board of Elections will show you how much the unions will take and give to the politicians down in Springfield and in Washington, D.C. They have 20 different packs that are under the umbrella of AFI-CIO. One of the packs alone posted today $39 million, just one of them, that have gone to politicians. The battle is not over. This war has just begun. You start by changing out all the incumbents that are sitting down there in Springfield and in Washington that have been making the decisions and telling you that this is not in your hand. $5,000 a plate dinners down there today, all day and for the rest of the week. These guys have to make a tough decision. They really do. But I would like to see some of the reps from the union stand in here and tell us as parents why they have been unwilling to renegotiate the contracts for our parents and for our students. They're treating our students like a commodity and not like the future that they deserve to be treated as.
School board members, thank you very much for letting me talk to you today. I want to talk about the library people and the staff. Thanks. Okay. All right. Please be informed as to the importance of the library techs for the students in our school. I believe I sent this to you guys in an email. Computers in the library are needed by the students. Yes, there are students that do not have computers or have to share them with other siblings and parents. This is a true fact. Turnitin.com for the high school. Students need to use the computer lab in the library. The local libraries are feeling the crunch of students using their computers for Turnitin.com, many of which didn't even know that they were going to be doing this and they were overloaded. We assist with resources at the library for students to research literacy and other things. The library software program, which is Destiny, it's a great program. It's used in 9 schools and is estimated at least $30,000 with cost. Training for the library staff was on-site, and the library aides will still work individually to continue their training. Elementary schools schedule classes in library, and the teachers leave the students there because that's their planning period. Library staff on certain days will be left open to staff students to take what they want in books or equipment. A valuable investment is diminishing here. Literacy for the district is necessary, and yet the district wants to reduce library media aids that assist the students every day. Reading resources for the library are needed every school day to assist the students' classwork that also improves their math and reading test scores. The media equipment alone is very expensive, are used by teachers for their curriculum, such as DVDs and TV units. Administrators use the media equipment for meetings and etc. The media equipment includes projectors, screens, and TV units. On another point, the cost of the media equipment is not overseen daily, could be broken or even lost. The library aides manage the expensive media equipment and protect it and make sure it's there for everybody. Library aides assist students with computer tech skills, research, word processing, PowerPoint, classroom papers, and even Turnitin.com. The library media aides supervise students with makeup work, test, reading assignments, computer work, and standardized testing. The school libraries get a per capita of about 75 cents per student based on the school's enrollment at the beginning of the school year. Teachers depend on the library staff to support their instruction with books, media, and co-teaching. Library aides play an important role in assisting teachers. Libraries are valuable assets to students, staff, and administrators. Alone, the village of Monee has no public library, and the students depend on that school library. In closing, the library media techs are extremely valuable to your schools. They need to stay in their schools to benefit the staff and students. Thank you.
These are the comments from this meeting. Kim Schaefer, Nancy Schlesinger, and Jim Bransky. Excuse me. I'm just like 3 at a time to start. Yeah.
Thank you, Board, for letting me speak. I am obviously a Talala PTO board member, and many of the things I do have to say are regarding closing of Talala. Talala parents, we don't get a choice where our students go. On your figures that you put on for where our students are going to go, we were not even opted into Coretta Scott King. How is that fair to our students? We don't, as a parent, my child can walk to school. The older siblings can pick them up when I'm at work or when my husband's at work. Now when you take them and you put them into a different school, will my 3rd grade son be left unattended when his older siblings come home after him, like many of the other students that are here tonight? How is that going to help the school? When reorganizing Talala to make it a kindergarten center, do not upgrades have to be done to the building? What about upgrades to the other elementary schools? How is that cost efficient? The busing. If state's not paying the schools, how is state paying for the busing? It all works together. Here you have a school. You have no busing needed, for the most part. The children walk to school, the parents pick them up. That's more cost efficient. And Talala's gone through a lot of changes. I have been on the board for 3 years. Our school testing. We are also we also got the Illinois Spotlight School again this year. That wasn't highlighted on the District 201U site. Talala Elementary put it on their site. This is a great achievement for our school. The children worked very hard for it. They may not have made it if they were in another elementary school. These are things that I wish the board would think about, the children, their lives, and how that school has helped them grow. How many children have gotten the Excel Award at Talala because they had the extra help, because of the parent involvement, because of what we can do for our children there. Please think about those things when making the decision to take our kids and put them in a different school. Thank you.
I'd like to talk to the fact that I'm seeing that you are going to riff a bunch of teachers that you will need to rehire, and I think that's kind of a silly waste of time, since I've heard rumor, maybe not fact, that within 3 days some of these teachers will be rehired. It's kind of an interesting situation, because I remember back 13, 14 years ago with the man who was superintendent was a principal in a building and also working at central office. And we had an administrative staff that had very few people. And since then, the school board has built that administrative staff tremendously. I look up here and see all these faces of administrators. I go online, and there's titles under them that I have no clue, I've never heard of in all my years that I've taught here. And then I was curious because we brought up some of these comparisons, and I looked here, and it was brought up to me that we have this thing on athletics, which I love and support dearly, as well known, but there was nowhere in here for Mr. Cahan's salary as the athletic director, nor his secretary. Or, of course, that's an administrative situation, so, of course, we wouldn't put that on there. And then I looked at the Talala thing, and Mr. Rogers explained how that would change. Well, each classroom teacher receiving students would receive a 20% increase in their class load. But nowhere in his discussion did he say any administrative savings would come from the closing of Talala. There would be more burden put on the teacher, but never was there said about an administrative situation. I know that there's going to be some administrative cuts, but it's gotten so big now. When I went on and saw the last 2 school report cards, I saw that our per student in the classroom situation was pretty average with the state, but yet our administrative situation was 35% higher than the average in the state. one administrator per 150 as opposed to over 200 on the state average. Seems we have a spot where we do need to look, and people that are away from the students.
Hello, my name is Christy Williams, and unlike most of these people, I'm actually a student. And I'm speaking on behalf of the student body. If there's any students here, I'm quite sure they would agree with what I'm saying. I'm involved in a lot of things: captain of the cheerleading team, captain of the track team, president of the National Honor Society. So I can assure you that I'm speaking on behalf of the student body. Before I start, I have something I want to read. This was written by a current senior this year. When the last of class of 2010 crosses across the stage, it will signal the end of an era, the end of the Crete Monee that so many of us knew, hated, and yet cherished in our hearts. Those of us fortunate enough to experience what Crete Monee used to be like have seen the decline these last 3 years. Ever since we moved down Exchange Street to the new building, we have started on a downward slope. We have already lost so many of the familiar faces that roam the halls of the old Crete Monee for generations. Those who remain are already planning their escape plans. It hurts me to see the loss of so much priceless knowledge. I wish the students following in my footsteps have half the opportunities I was given. I've seen the last of many great teachers. They have given me so much advice through the years that a new teacher can't possibly know. They taught me and countless students more than just information. They taught me about life. I used to think of the death of the old Crete Monee as purely a figurative idea. It used to be what I called any of us that attended class in the old building. Over the past 4 years, I've realized that when we leave, we will take with us the last of a culture that has thrived for so many years within the walls of Crete Monee High School. There will always be hope that Crete can return to some state of prosperity. I hope and pray that my alma mater will someday be the jewel of Chicago Southland and not what it has become recently. The next few years will be very harsh for Crete Monee students, and I wish all of you the best. You have all been given the short stick and have no say in the matter. I hope I can return to Crete Monee someday in the future and be proud of being an alumnus. However, it will never be the same. The Crete Monee I knew and grew to love will soon cease to exist. And my point in reading that is, at the last meeting, Mr. Rogers, you stated that with all the decisions you are making, you're trying to make them not affect the students as much as possible. But this is a school district, and every single decision that this board make, it will affect the students. I promise you, every single decision. And I'm confused. I'm very confused because the analogy you made about the band program and how you can't have a band program at the high school level without a feeder program at the elementary schools. It's the same thing. Why keep AP classes in these higher level classes and paying these teachers these extra money to teach the classes when at the lower levels, math intervention programs are getting cut, reading programs are getting cut? Who's going to take these classes? I'm in Calculus BC, AP. It's 11 of us in there. Not many students are willing to take these classes, and then once they take the class, they're stuck in the class. And I promise you, not most people are ready for AP classes. And then they're stuck failing a class, but they're stuck in it because it's the rule. It seems as if this district, ever since the new building came along, is going for an image. And I don't know if this district is trying to compete with Marion or HF or whoever, but I think the well-being of the students is not being thought about. And to answer the person's question who asked how many of the students are going to Ivy League schools, applying to Ivy League schools, I can promise you it's not many. I'm part of the top 3% of my class. I will be graduating 9th out of 346. It's only about 10 to 20 of us that would even make the attempt to apply to Ivy League schools. I myself have applied to Harvard and Massachusetts Institute of Technology for the fall 2010. But the majority of our students, the majority, because the ones that are at the top, we're the minority. The majority is what we need to be thinking about and how we're preparing them, and who asks the success rate of how many students from Crete Monee graduate college? Probably not that many, because the high school is not setting us up for college. Turnitin.com, that was a decision made because we had low writing scores. But it also doesn't make sense to assign a freshman 7 papers in 1 week, because it's not going to teach them how to write. It's going to teach them how to halfway do things.
Okay.
Okay.
It's time.
So I wanted to speak on behalf of the students and let you all know that your decisions are affecting the students, and it makes no sense to cut programs and to ruin the foundation at the elementary level and expect them to succeed in the high school. And to me, it seems as if you're going for an image. You want to keep AP classes. Look like, oh, we have so many AP classes. Not only that, students next year are being forced to pay for the AP test and take the test. Did anybody ask the teachers why students don't take tests? It's not just because they want AP level credit. Some students already have the credit before they go to college. Some students can't afford it.
Ms. Williams.
Okay. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the students.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Susan Schlesinger. I'm the library at Talala Elementary School. I've been there for about 2 years, and I enjoy it so much. I look forward every day, and I believe that the students that come to the library for their library sessions every week enjoy it too. In addition to the items that Trish mentioned in her handout, I'd also like to mention that I also, and I'm sure the other aides do, we coordinate a book it program through Pizza Hut that allows students once a month. It's a reading incentive program to enjoy a family pizza night. And the other thing we do is another reading incentive program sponsored by Weekly Reader and Six Flags that allows students to earn a ticket to Six Flags in the summertime and allows them a family day. But what I'd mostly like to talk about is the Talala Library. Last week when I was there, architect was there and somebody from maintenance. Measuring the library to turn it into the office complex in the new entrance. And I'm just bewildered by that. I'm just bewildered as what's going to happen to the library if there would still be one. But the amount of money that's going into this change to make a new bathrooms and offices and furniture and whatever else it would take to make this new office pod, I can't help but think that this money could be used in some other way to help the students. That's all. Thank you.
Dylan Schaefer, Yolanda Smith, and Carol McClen.
Hi. Hello, my name is Dawn Schaefer. Thank you for letting me speak. I have been going to Talala since kindergarten. Till now is second grade, which now is second grade. If they change Talala to a district-wide kindergarten center, then I will have to take a bus to school. If my older sisters stay after school, who will let me into the house? I will have to wait a long time, or my mom and dad will have to stop working to let me in, and who will watch me while I'm home? The teachers at Talala are very nice. They taught me my ABCs and how to read. Please don't take me away from Talala.
I'm proud of him. My name's Yolanda Smith, and good evening, everybody on the school board and the superintendent. But I sent out some information I know that we're all concerned about, and very rightly so. Talala being closed, the band, the AP classes, our teachers and staff being cut for next year, all because of $2 million or $2.5 million being cut, not being received from the state, and $4 million that's out there still. But I have some suggestions. One is and the gentleman before had asked this as well, and I'd like to reiterate that, is go back to the teachers' union and negotiate. Sounds like they're willing, and it would not be deemed harassment. This is a crisis situation, and it warrants having a clear and open communication with the union. This needs to happen for the future of our children and our community. Second suggestion is energy, and we've touched base on this. I went and looked online, and we need to go, if you have considered negotiating lower costs with ComEd, and I noticed the other day that the lights were turned off here at the high school, so thank you. That saves us a little bit of money. Long-term situation with a long-term plan for the energy is, I think, important. Several of parents that I've met with, having many parent meetings in the last few weeks, said that there's a way to research grants for LEED certification and green energy, and there is something here that students leading the way, and I'd like to hand this to you so that you can read it in your, I didn't make all copies because I'm trying to save money. So if you could take a look at that, there's some really great information in there. And one of the school districts started this program and saved $600,000 with this green energy Lead the Way. Lastly, I know nobody wants to hear this maybe, but I know I voted for this referendum, and part of the problem is we don't have enough money for operating our schools. I know I sent money to Haiti. I know my friends have. I know we've sent money to Chile. Why can't we pull out a couple dollars here and vote for that referendum so that we can have our programs back? Thank you.
Good evening, elected officials and everybody here. Quick question. Can we, and have we gone back to the teachers' union? We're going to have a discussion to review the three options. Can we have an open discussion and a compromise and bring in a fourth option for all these teachers? Keep them, do them, whatever. Thank you.
Jason Woods, Robin Tedeschi, and Jean Duncan. Mr. Woods has a question. Does the district plan on looking into revamping and the zoning so that the current Talala Elementary School might stay open? You got 3 minutes if you can get it in there.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking that question is because, sorry. The reason I'm asking that question is because my family's been in this district for nearly 25 years. When I was in this district, and yes, me, my brothers and sisters, we're all graduates from Crete Monee High School. So I was the very last one in my family to actually graduate from the old building back in 1993. Dr. Rogers, you were the principal over at Hickory. You had just came on board. And my concern is, when I came to this district, I was only in 4th grade. I went to 1 elementary school, 1 middle school, 1 high school. That was it. These children now, as a taxpayer, my concern is that these kids have to go to 5 different schools before they even reach high school. And to me, that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Now, I do understand it's not you all's fault is the reason why you guys are in this financial situation today. We understand that our state officials care more about themselves. They care more about deepening their pockets than they do more about education. Personally, I think this needs to go back to our government, not just within the state level, but also on a U.S. government level, and make education the #1 amendment if it were me. And I'm sure a lot of people here would agree with it. We know that you guys are all doing your very, very best, and no one is faulting you per se. But my real concern is, have you all addressed every single issue before closing Talala? I live right down the street from Talala. I walk my dog and I walk right past the building. I've got family and friends that lives right there. Now, it doesn't make sense for them to have to get on a bus and go 4 or 5 miles to another school when there's an elementary school right there. It doesn't make any sense. And even though I know this is starting to become a very mundane topic and a very moot point because you all are forced to make decisions, but right now, those students are doing a phenomenal job. And they are really putting this district on the map, as well as the other schools. This high school that we're sitting in right now was just a prairie when I first came. This was just nothing but prairie grass, along with some of the other buildings that you all have. I came during the time when there were no computers in the classrooms, and where teachers had respect for their students, the students had respect for their teachers, and the administrators and board members had respect for the community. We need to get that back. We need to build that trust once more. Thank you.
Good evening. As you most all know, my name is Robin Tedeschi, and I have been a teacher here at Crete Monee High School for 5 years. And yes, my husband is Chris Tedeschi, your high school band director for the past 7 years. But most importantly, I live in Monee, and my oldest son was a 2009 honors graduate, class rank of 5th. My daughter is a junior at our high school, and my youngest is a 5th grader at Monee Elementary. So as you can see, my family is and has been completely invested in this school district. As a parent and a teacher, but more so as a parent, I am very concerned about what's happening in our district and the state of Illinois. But most especially, I find it hard to believe that the entire band program could be cut without the school board and superintendent working harder to make smaller, multiple cuts over many areas instead of just wiping out an entire instrumental music program. The state of Illinois is in crisis. We know this. But the bottom line is that it seems that you are looking for an easy solution instead of finding a way for the students of this district not to lose any one thing in its entirety. Your job is not easy. You might be thinking as you listen to us that it's easy for parents to make suggestions when we are not in your shoes. I realize this. However, it is the job that you chose. Just as I choose to work hard at this high school each and every day and meet the needs of every student that I see and work with within your district. At the last forum, you listened to many questions and concerns, but went back to maybe how certain numbers jump out on the page or certain numbers can't be changed. Well, I believe they can. Please look at the charts that you are sharing with us. Look at this harder. You don't have to eliminate a grade level if you don't want to, if you have those concerns, but you can eliminate the number of directors. You can put band back into the school day at the middle school, thereby eliminating the early bus expense that you decided upon when taking it out of the school day. And you base the high school marching band section director assistance figure on the highest stipend level, because if you divide it by 4, your amount is what it comes out to. When these people are not paid at that level, 2 of them were only first-year people. And the boosters could go back to paying for this anyway, as we used to, in its entirety and eliminate that expense for you. So you see, those numbers can change. Also on the line items, there is an orchestra stipend, which is very unclear to us as boosters because that doesn't even exist anymore. And if you want to change your words to make the scenario work and say we should have said instrumental music teachers compared to all other music teachers, then all of Mr. Tedeschi's class roster totals for all of his classes, not just band, should have been included in your calculations. And where is the amount of students for teacher number 5, which I'm assuming is the piano instructor, because that would be a 5th instrument. The bottom line is there are many other things I could question, but will you please just be fair? Will you please not just consider these options? Consider there are other options, as well as cutting such other things, possibly assistant coaching positions, not to eliminate anything completely, or many other areas you could look at condensing. And also, what about such things as $50,000 worth of instruments and equipment purchases made just in the first year of this high school program, this new high school opened up for the whole band program, not to mention that everything that is in total part of our band program. I would think that you would not want this to be a waste of your money. Please, all we are asking is that you simply don't cut the entire program. This could be done differently. And I must say that rarely in 7 years have we seen any administrators in attendance, only few, at band events, let alone board members. So please do not judge the worthiness of this program on this basis. You are going to lose some of your higher level of students and affect over 300 students who can achieve higher test scores for you. And the lives of the numbers of band people are going up, and this affects the whole student body because these are the students with the qualities you should want in your school. Please, each of you share your true thoughts and feelings with each other as you work through this most difficult time. Sorry, I thought I had it timed to get it said in 3 minutes, but I went a little bit over, and I thank you very much and most respectfully.
Shannon McGee, I'm sorry, Jean, and Crystal Rhodey, I apologize. Also, I want to call to your attention that if you have comment cards, we'd like for you to turn them in now. We will not accept them after the 8 o'clock hour. So if we are, sure. Yes, you just come and see me. Yeah. So please turn your comment cards in now so that we can get them to the board.
I thought you were giving me the go-ahead. I'm Jean Olson Duncan, and I am a parent. And I would like to take a slightly different perspective than what we've been talking about. I, of course, want to see bands stay. I can empathize with keeping Talala. But the reality is we don't have enough money to keep all of our programs. I don't think anyone would dispute that. The only question is how it's cut. What I would like to call upon the board, the administration, the teachers, the parents, and the community to do is to work together to innovate, not just decimate. There are ways that if we work together, we can come up with program solutions. Maybe band does need to be reduced, but maybe we could partner with some of the communities. For example, even the park districts, you provide the space, the park district could provide some of the leadership. That's just a possibility. There are many ways to brainstorm. And based on this, because we as parents do not have means of communicating with each other than a meeting like this, and it's a very much one-way dialogue, I am in the process of setting up a site on ning.com, N-I-N-G, and the site went down just as I was trying to finish, so I wasn't able to do that. But if you go within the next 48 hours and search on Ning for 201U, that is a social networking site that allows dialogue. We can share ideas, thoughts, and perhaps the board can look at that and get some of the ideas back, because we have a wealth of resources here, a wealth of creativity, of problem solving, and we might find some viable ways to get through without losing some of the value to the students. But it requires a partnership. It requires thinking together, talking together, not gossiping together, not lambasting together. It means moving away from the idea of fighting for band or fighting for Talala, which I can understand, to a point of how can we come up with new solutions. For example, one of my thoughts was how can we have perhaps some of the high school students assist with instrumental teaching at the younger level in exchange for reducing some of the costs there and adding some programs there. That could be an innovative program that could get us some grant money, that would further it, that would further the leadership experiences in the high school. There are many different things if we all come together, and some of the ideas may sound crazy, but that's how brainstorming works. And you say, hey, wait a minute, but what we need is a forum and a format to pull it together. And so I would invite you all, again, it's ning.com. I will forward the exact site to Natalie so that it can go up on the website if that's appropriate for you. But we will get the information out when it's there, and let's come together and talk and look at what we can do, not just what we're losing. Thank you.
Hello. I'm a little nervous, so I'm speaking on behalf of myself and some of the parents. I graduated from Crete, I have children that are adults now that have graduated from Crete, and some of you all look familiar. I don't even know how many of you all have children in our district, actually. Probably none of you, if at all. Okay, some of you, most of them are adults. I didn't think so. Okay. Basically, my thing is I've been in the district for a long time, and I've seen them change things so many times. Balmoral was the Crete Intermediate School. This high school is new. I went to the old high school. Why would you take kids that are walking? There are more walkers that go to Talala than bus children, first of all. It's such a low enrollment, as you all say. They have the highest, testing scores in the whole district. There are 9 schools in this district. Talala, Balmoral, Monee, Crete Elementary, the old Crete, this new Crete, Coretta Scott King, who only has a music program. Talala's not offered that. My child is not offered anything to do with band. Talala, the rest of the grade schools have gone from K through 4th, K through 5th, K through 6th. And in another couple of years, you all will be changing this again. Talala, why don't you all just take all of the kids, the 5th and the 6th graders, take them out of the main schools, put them all in the high school? You're only using a portion of the old high school anyway for the 6th graders. You're not using the whole school. It would make more sense to use what you have as opposed to make new problems. You're going to have to add on. Talala is old. It needs to be updated. Crete Elementary would have to be updated. It has more room, but it is old. There are a lot of different things and a lot of different ways you all could go about doing things. You all could take a cut. I don't know what you make. I'm not trying to assume that. There are a lot of things that can be done to keep these kids in this district, because you're going to bust the kids if you all close Talala. I'm asking a question now. Where will these kids get bused to? What, Monee, Crete Elementary? I don't have all the facts, because I didn't even know about the last meeting, and the last meeting got changed. And so parents weren't even involved in the meetings. We don't get a lot of this information. Like she said, a lot of kids don't have computers at home. A lot of them aren't allowed to get on the computers. A lot of them don't have that access. All parents don't have that resource. Like the gentleman said, a lot of us are single parents, or a lot of us, I'm a single parent. A lot of us are making less than what we pay out in taxes or in school fees. I think it's asinine for a kindergartner to have to pay almost $100 to register for school. The No Child Left Behind program is for everybody. Cook County, Will County, no kid should have to pay that much. So if I don't pay, does that mean my child won't get to register? That makes no sense. The money that is being utilized needs to be done a different way. I don't think Talala should be closed at all. I don't think it should be made a kindergarten center. Take that old high school and utilize it for what it's worth. Use what you have. Thanks.
Crystal, are you Crystal? Okay. Kimberly Cooper.
First off, I would like to thank the board for letting me speak. However, it is unfortunate that I feel my words will fall upon deaf ears. I would like to talk about my experience with Talala Elementary. Being a student volunteer, I have seen these students exceed the expectations that the board has put forth. I've seen students, teachers, and parents come together in a community and support students beyond belief. Talala is a community school, and every community has the right to stay together. When you make your decision on whether or not Talala should remain an elementary school or should be changed into a district kindergarten center, just keep this in mind. Not only will you be firing great teachers, but you will also hinder students' learning ability and therefore their future. Perhaps it's just me, but I do not understand how the board thinks that reorganizing this elementary school is beneficial. Where I'm standing from, it's only causing problems. If Talala closes, there will be no one there to pick up the kids from the bus. Students like my brother. Without Talala, there is no school I can walk to and pick him up from. Who will be there getting him off the bus? Not my parents, because they're at work. Not my sisters, because they're on different buses from different schools. Do you really want him standing outside waiting for someone to arrive? Granted, it might only be a few minutes, but what could happen in those few minutes? I beg you to keep in consideration what I just said. There are literally 300 lives in your hands right now, and you have the power to either embrace these lives or potentially damage them. I'd like to thank you again for letting me speak.
Kimberly Cooper.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Cooper. My son actually attends Talala Elementary. He's been going there since kindergarten. He's in first grade. My thing is that I speak for single parents and also the ones that have kids that go to Roots and Wings, which is attached to elementary. Picks them up from there even when the parents are still at work. I work to 6 o'clock, 6:30. So him getting off the bus and going home will not happen. But with him leaving Talala and going to Roots and Wings, which is next door, which either picks them up or they walk across, it's convenient for a lot of mothers, not only single mothers, but parents in general. I mean, some of us don't get off the train until 6 o'clock or 5:30. I also think that I went through a lot with Talala. And I think that the things that I did go through with Talala is the reason why it should stay the way it is. The school didn't put my son back because he wasn't ready or anything like that. I went through stuff that hurt me, but Talala did it for a reason. It's because it wanted to keep the kids educated. That's how I feel. And sending them off somewhere else is just it's just starting them over. It's like half of them are going to go somewhere and learn more things with different people, but they're not going to be together. Half of them have been together. They walk home together. I just think that it's something everybody should probably think about before just making the decision. Half of you up there don't even look interested in what half of us are saying. But, I mean, I'm just being honest. I get people turning their faces, looking different ways, but when you think about it, think about half of the kids that's sitting in this audience listening to this. I mean, they're hurt as well. They might not know it, but when they see themselves branching off and going different ways, it will hurt. So I think that the best thing to do is to keep Talala and maybe eliminate some of the other things that we can possibly think about.
Michael Warren, Anthony Stevens, and Vernice Warren.
Mike Margraf, and then I'd like to call Katharina McCartan.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Mike Margraf. I am a member of the class of '86, and I live in the district. I'm a taxpayer. I'm not a parent. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to address the board and the administration. This is not an easy thing. I know that none of you wants to cut any programs. You don't want to cut Talala. You don't want to cut the band. You'd love to bring back orchestra, which is gone, I understand, for 6 years. All sorts of things if money grew on trees, and it doesn't. So you've got hard decisions to make. But it seems that the proposal here to destroy the band program and eliminate it completely is trying to make a relatively easy decision. Rather than making hard decisions by making cuts across the board, as has been proposed by other people, and looking at many different programs. Now, they say that you can make statistics say anything, but it looks to me like you can also work with figures. As we heard from somebody else earlier, some of these numbers here are a little bit fudged, with the instrumental, the section leaders being done at the highest level, with there being budget line items here given for orchestra, which I understand has been gone for 6 years. Also, if you may notice, and if everybody looks in their package, the incidental cost here is the extra cost. What do they put? Extra duty and pay and other is a $166, and that's what's listed for the instrumental music program. But for the athletic programs, that's all that's listed. Now, if hypothetically, if the entire athletic program was the one that was on the X, you're going to eliminate, it doesn't seem like you are counting here 2/3 of the cost from the instrumental program is the salaries and benefits. Now, if you were eliminating, hypothetically, the entire sports programs, are there no teachers that could be eliminated? Not a single one? Because if so, then you would have to count their salaries and benefits in as well as part of the cost, and that would change the cost of the program respectively, and that would change the cost per student. So I think that is you're trying to make the numbers look worse for band, so it's easier to cut the band programs. Now, maybe this next part is a question for the board and for the administration, because I don't know the answer to it, but have you worked with the music staff and the music, the band boosters, to see if there are ways, as was mentioned by other people, of creatively cutting it, having them come up with other things, whether it's working with park districts, whether it's having the band boosters fund things, so that, again, you could bring the cost down without having to eliminate the program. Another thing is I want to tell you real briefly, I was, of course, as you might guess, I was in the band program. And it was due to the incredible teaching of people we had. We had some amazing teachers, Kurt Merrill, Robert Reich, Robert Slider was a director here for something like 40 years. And I was fortunate enough that he was my director, and he retired the year that I graduated. Now, right after that, I don't know exactly what happened, but the band went through about 5 directors in 10 years. And, of course, that really hurt the program. The numbers went down and down and down. There wasn't continuity. But Chris Tedeschi has been here working for 7 years to build this program back up, and the numbers are going up every year. We have a tremendous junior high program. So although the numbers here are given at 319, they will get bigger and bigger and bigger. Thank you for the heads up on the time. So there was another thing I wanted to mention, but I guess if I was going to wrap up with one thing, it's this. You've got a program which, let's say that those numbers are right, and you're looking at roughly $500,000. It's serving 320 plus students and growing. If we have a district which can afford, now you mentioned before about how you tried to block out the salaries, but they appeared on some of them, but it's available through FOI. And if you go, there's a website called something like thechampion.net where you can get the teachers and the administrator salaries. So this is something, if I have it wrong, you can correct me. But if we have a district that can afford to handsomely reward a superintendent $240,000 or more, plus what was in the newspaper, $118,000 to fund an early retirement.
Excuse me, your time is up.
Okay. Well, I think we can come up with the money for the band program.
Michael Warren. Hey, I just want to make a couple quick comments. Coretta Scott King, has that been omitted from this equation here? Isn't that a public school also? Hello? Okay, my point was I didn't notice Coretta Scott King in this equation right here. That's public also. Isn't that within this pie, within this money we're talking about? It's just that I was looking for it, and I couldn't find anything on it, and I think my kids are just as good as those kids, so we all got a bite. We all got to share the burden, you understand what I'm saying? So my point is, we all need to participate in this, just not certain Talala or whatever. And as far as these numbers here, I played football. It was a long time ago, but I know my coaches didn't make 60 grand. I think these numbers can be trimmed a little bit. And, I think what we need to do is go over certain items and find out what we can do away with and cut down on as far as each category instead of just taking a whole group and throwing out a whole group, I think we should be more like surgeons instead of garbage man, find out where we can trim and be more precise than just taking blocks. Just find out what we can do without. And I believe you can raise a good amount of money doing that and just instead of taking big projects. And you understand what I'm saying? Thank you.
Hi, good evening again. I'm not going to go on my bandwagon again this week, but I wanted to just bring up a point about Talala. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Bernice Warren. Nice to meet you again. The thing is that one of our parents has just mentioned about the daycare issue. And the last couple days I've been getting letters from the various daycares in Park Forest. We have approximately 2 big daycares, and then we have several little home daycares. One issue that they're having is that, in their letters, is that they can't go pick up our children at Crete or any of the other schools and stuff for Talala. All of the daycares are in Cook County. Therefore, our school district with the bus service cannot go pick up the kids from Cook County, even though the daycares are exactly across the street from the school. So we have a unique situation in Park Forest. When we say community, it is truly a community. We had talked last time a little bit about University Park, and we talked, and you said that you lost your community school as well. But in Talala, we were built around the schools and the churches, Park Forest. And because of some of our families, they've already voiced out that we really need our school. And I'm going to say this even more so because we have so many after-school activities. I sat up here and I teared up a little bit in the audience here because we created programs for our students and their families. We currently have Girl Scouts, cooking classes, homework labs. It's not necessarily for the kids, for the educational environment, because they're getting that at Talala, trust me. We had those programs there because we were approached by parents who weren't able to pick up their kids. They truly could not pick up their kids. Okay? 3:40 in the afternoon, we are a working class community. As I mentioned before, we have an average salary of $43,000 in our community. Our taxes are one of the highest in the state of Illinois. And we're doing it, baby. We're doing it. Park Forest, our foreclosures are not as high as some of the other areas. So these people are working 2 and 3 jobs to get the food on the table, to get that mortgage paid, to pay those $6,000 a year taxes for a 1,200 square foot house. Okay? So we have a little different situation. And I'm so happy to see our young parents here tonight at Talala who's coming out and bringing that to their attention. Because I'm an old woman on the block. I'm old, and I've been through this. And I think I take it more personally, and I'm going to wrap it up. Because in 1977, when I graduated from 162, 6th grade, my elementary school closed for the same reasons. I remember at that time going to the PTO meeting. That's why I invited kids here tonight. I'm sorry, at the school board meeting. And it's the same scenario, the same thing from 1977. And when you say it doesn't hurt people, that hurt me and my classmates from 1977 to today when I get on Facebook and someone brings it up again. Okay? So don't think that the kids can just move on and shuffle it out, because you can't. I'm 42 years old now, and I still can tell you the day our school closed down and became a rec center. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Good evening. My name is Catherine McCartan. I am currently a senior at your high school. I am in the band program and in many other programs, and recently playing at the basketball games and the football games, we have not been able to perform at some of the basketball games because of other conflicts with Mr. T and doing other things. The students have asked us many times, where are we? And the only thing we can say is we couldn't do it because we have other obligations. And then we told them that next year we will not be able to play for you because we will probably be cut. Most of these students were appalled. Some of our show choir members, we play for them for combo. We play for your musicals and everything. Without band, there will be no musicals for us to play, and they will have to eliminate many of those things because band is not there. It is hard to say that, and I know that I will not be affected because I am a senior. But seeing all these kids in 5th grade and in 6th grade and stuff, knowing that they cannot have what I have is just sad. I'm sorry, our band parents pay for our instruments. We pay for everything. The only thing that we don't pay for is maybe our new uniforms that we've got once in a while because we've added. And our band program this year has become so much better than what it has been recently. Our color guard is amazing. Our band is just phenomenal. And I just wanted to say that without band, there is nothing.
We'd like to call Dale Sagan. And I'd like to call your attention to the time, 8:05. We will no longer accept cards after this moment. So if you have a card, this is the final call for it.
Good evening. I'm Anthony Stevens.
I'm a resident of this district, and I'm also an alumni from Crete, Monee, the class of 1977. My son is a student here. Actually, both of my sons are students here. My one son plays in the band currently, and my other son had aspirations of being in the band next year. He's very talented in music, and for Christmas he asked me to buy him a bass, which I did. He's teaching himself how to play the bass, 4-string bass. He's already following various songs. He's really talented. I don't want to see band leave. It's a very viable program, and I think some very good arguments have been made as to why music needs to be in a high school. This is not an easy decision, folks, and I can't imagine any one of the board members sitting up there thinking that this decision is the simplest and the easiest of all decisions. I just don't believe that they think that way. And I don't think because they may not be giving any indication of their feelings one way or the other that they are disinterested in the comments that are being made here tonight. This is not an easy decision. But shame on us for saying that this is the board's fault. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the board's fault. This is our fault. We did not pass the referendum that would have funded this high school. We failed to pass it 2 times. This is our fault. This is our fault because for 14 years, Mike Terrell stood here at the last meeting. He said, I was here 14 years ago when we were in the same predicament. Superintendent Dr. Humphrey was here at that time. We did not get involved for the last 14 years on how we changed the formula for how we fund education in the state of Illinois. When Senator Meeks was just a few years ago fighting this battle, we stood on the sideline as if it was not our problem. Well, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? It's our problem now. I know you're angry. I'm angry too. I know you're dissatisfied. I'm dissatisfied also. But I would hope that we would come together so that 14 years from now, our children who will be at the high school and in our schools won't have to face some of these same kind of decisions. Let's change how we fund education in the state of Illinois. Let's take our indignation and do something positive, not point fingers at the board. They don't get paid to sit there. And if you think Superintendent Rogers is making a boatload of money, you ought to look at the salaries that some of the superintendents make in some of the other school districts. He is underpaid when you compare how some of the other superintendents are getting paid. My time is up. I want to make one last comment to the board. Board, there's a disproportionate number of African American teachers in our district. And as an African American, I realize the importance of being able to be in a classroom and in a school where there are other African American teachers and educators who are inspiring. And my level of success, and I am successful in my career, would not have been possible had I not been inspired by some African American teachers. I appreciate my Caucasian teachers. I benefited from them. But we need to keep our African American teachers. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Del Sagun. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody talks about paying their taxes. Guys, this country is lucky. You pay your taxes, you see where they go. You should be in other countries, you pay your taxes, you don't know where the taxes went. Anyway, my comment on my card was, I just couldn't picture a school without a band. It's a proven fact. Music is important to your life. I work in a hospital. We have surgeons who cannot operate without music. Okay? I used to work in ICU. The patient is on a respirator. You gotta turn the music on. They're not talking to you, but you have to have the music on because it affects, and it's in a study, it affects the patient. It helps in the recovery of the patient. And, you know, going back to the taxpayer, I really am on the losing side because I only have 2 kids. My first one graduated in 2002, and the next one is in high school now. So really, I didn't get to use much of the taxes that I paid in this country. So, and I save lives. I don't get paid as much as what this gentleman said earlier about the teachers. But just like Ms. Tedeschi said, this is the choice I made. But please, everybody wants our kids to grow up and have a good future. And we have all the ABCs, we have all the primary course subjects, but I still cannot understand. The first time my daughter told me, Mom, they're going to cut off the band. My first reaction was, how could a school not have a band? When the band is there anywhere, there is music that you need to. So please, I mean, there are other people who already talked here, and maybe it's just a juggling of numbers. I know it's very hard for you guys. You know, I heard you don't get paid for doing this work. But this is not just your responsibility, this is all our responsibility. And even joke my husband, we probably should start buying lotto, and if we win, let's give that, how many hundred thousands of money do they need for the band? You know, I'm even willing, I don't know if the parents would agree with me, if we have to pay more with the extracurricular activities that we pay for the band, just let us know, and if you can divide it through the whole school year, I'm willing. But please don't cut the band off. I mean, this is something the kids work so hard for. And for every occasion that you have in the school, you have these kids that play in these occasions. So, please think about all of this again. Because it's like not having a band, not having music in the school is like what? Having somebody getting married without just walking down the aisle with nothing. Okay?
Okay.
Good night. Thank you.
Cindy Yavarsky and Blaine Rosenfeld.
Those are the final 2 comments for the evening.
My name is Cindy Yavarsky. I am a kindergarten teacher in this district. I'm also a union rep. I am also on the bargaining team. I'll have you know this is my 20th year teaching, and I don't make $90,000. I come to school on Sundays. I was there yesterday for 5 hours. I get second jobs so I can give your kids who you say that we as teachers and union members don't care about, I give them those extra things. Okay,
Excuse me.
this has nothing to do about the union. I'm speaking as a teacher.
Excuse me. Please. Let's be respectful of one
I
another.
am being respectful, but I have to take a deep breath because teaching is my life. My classroom are my second group of kids. And for someone to say that the union doesn't care about these parents and these kids is wrong. What they have to do is hard. I'm a union rep. I had to deliver that news to the non-tenured teachers. Do you think that was easy? It was not. Half of my friends, one of them is out of a job, the husband or not husband. A husband or a wife, I should say. Yeah, there are hard decisions that have to be made. But don't you dare tell me or any other teacher in this district that we don't care, because we do. I left a school district. We were the second lowest paid in the south suburbs, Calumet City. I left to come to this district because of what they were and what they believed in. So yeah, there are hard decisions that are had to be made. You know, and I'm sorry for that. But I just have to say, we were at the I was down at the state for lobby day. I was. So are a couple other teachers. So we are doing our part. We're trying to do our part. I'm sorry, band if you know all the band members are here. I support you too. My kids go to a high school where sports is not looked at in Indiana. But you know what? Education is the most important thing.
Hello. I want to talk about the security at the high school. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's Blaine Rosenthal. I wouldn't say there's a lot of fighting, but there's kind of a lot. But you guys are wanting to cut security as part of the budget, and do you really think that that's a good idea with everything that's going on in the high school and the fights?
Okay. The only thing that I can say, Ms. Rosenfeld, is that, again, we're looking at ways to compensate for any reductions that may be made in security forces. There are still plenty of staff members, first of all, that are in the schools, such as our administrators, our deans, our counselors, teachers actively supervising in the hallway. And we are looking into, right now, some alternative ways to still provide security that may be, as Gene Duncan mentioned tonight, new relationships with our local law enforcement, like the Crete Police. There's some things that Mr. Elrod is looking into now. Again, no decision has been made, but we are looking at the reduction, as I remember it, is only the loss of one security guard at the middle school, and I believe it's only one or two at the high school. It doesn't mean that there still won't be a security force here, because there's more than two people, and we're looking at alternative ways to make sure that all areas are secure.
So you are going to cut, though, security guards for next year?
As we said, it's proposed, but I have a feeling, again, just based on information that's coming to us almost on a daily basis, that some of the things that have been proposed are going to change.
Okay.
Okay, our final comment will come from Kim Wesley, who has a question about overcrowding and classrooms at the kindergarten center.
Good evening. I don't have a question, rather a comment. Anyone that knows me knows that I value education. My husband and I have instilled the value of education into our children, and I fight for the quality of education for my children, not just my children, but other children. And I have been coming to all of the board meetings this entire school year, and one thing that has been consistent is that the children's test scores are not up to par. The children's reading and math scores need to be better. And I'm grieved at the decisions that are proposed, that are laid out before us, that if we're going to overcrowd our classrooms, we're going to bus our kids to other areas, and we're going to cut programs that are fundamental to our children and that would help them to increase their reading scores, increase their math scores. I just would ask that as you make these decisions that you would consider the impact upon our children, their education now, and how it would impact them in the future. Thank you.
As we have concluded all the comment cards, I will at this time allow any board members who would like to make a response or a comment at this time, seeing that we did allocate 3 hours for this. You're entitled to do so. Ms.
I'll make a comment. 2 things. I want you to know, for those of you who know me and for those of you who don't, I've been in this district, I think it's 14 years now. I have 3 sons, 2 in the district. I have my first son who came in 2nd grade. He's now a senior honor student at the high school. I have a 6th grade honor student at the high school. And I value parental strong involvement, so I encourage you to continue to do that. Just like the gentleman said earlier, we are partners. None of us sitting up here, whether you have children specifically in an individual school, unfortunately we do, so we value what is happening in this district. It's happening to our children as well. Whatever will or won't happen, we're going to be affected. I have a 3-year-old who will be a kindergartner who may have to attend Talala. There are a lot of tough decisions, but I want you to know that when you said, thank you for allowing me to speak, it's my pleasure to hear you speak. It's my pleasure. I've been begging parents for years. We need you, especially for the 9 months that I've been sitting on this board, to be out here in force, to be a part of the dialogue on an ongoing basis so that we do hear your thoughts, your comments on an ongoing basis so we know your feelings, your passions. Tonight I've been very pleased as I have to receive your emails, your thoughts, and some of the passionate comments that you've shared. And don't think that it's not being taken lightly. When the young lady spoke earlier, that's a young lady that I can speak. She's dear to my heart. And she called me and she said, I want to speak. She is a jewel in this district. And our kids, your kids, are jewels in this district. Even if they don't attend an Ivy League school, they're still ours. They're the pride of Crete Monee High School. And truly, I'm proud of them, whomever they are. We can't be about ourselves. I'm not sitting on this board because it's about my kids. It's about everyone's kids. When you say getting paid, I wouldn't do this job any less if you gave me $250,000. Just so happens I volunteer. I get off the train, just like you said, at 6:10 from University Park, and I rush here to be here on time today to hear your comments. It's important to me. It's important to all of our colleagues. Everybody has been sitting here. After you leave, we're going to stay here until 12 o'clock, most likely, to continue the dialogue. And we have children at home who need to be in bed. Lucky for me, I do have a spouse who is there working with their homework assignments. But never, ever doubt that we value your comments, that we value what you are saying and your opinions. They do matter. So, just like Superintendent Rogers said, we haven't voted on anything. These items that we're looking at, they were brought to us in a proposal. We have been reviewing them and reviewing them. We have debated. We are arguing. Some people are passionate about one thing because we're hearing from you what you're dissatisfied with, what you're happy with, what you're not. And so it matters. The bottom line is it matters. You don't need to thank me for being allowed to speak. It's your mic. It's your school. And that's the kind of stance we need to take. This school, I remember I was in 6th grade and I used to have to sing a song. This school is my school, from the auditorium to the 3rd floor hallway. And when we take charge and take ownership of what belongs to us, I think we're going to make optimal changes in this district, be it band, be it the various schools. We can still make a difference. So your comments have not gone on deaf ears. I'm wide awake. I'm freezing, but I'm wide awake. And what you have said is that young lady practically drew me to tears, because the bottom line is she's one of those who's going. But our kids still have to come through here, yours and mine. And yours is no less important to me than mine. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here. Thank you.
Ms. Hall?
Good evening, everyone. Ms. Sanders said pretty much all that I was thinking, and every forum I have encouraged parents to get involved with your children's education. Many of you are, but many, many, many are not. A couple of months ago, we got statistics from our superintendent of parents that attended parent-teacher conferences, and the numbers were alarming. And I believe some parents didn't pick up report cards. Numbers were alarming. As Ms. Sanders says, we're advocates for parent involvement. One of the reasons I got on this board was because I felt like I used to be on the PTO. I felt like that wasn't enough. You can only do so much being on the PTO. I chose to run for this position because I felt like I had a voice and I wanted people to hear it. We're not here because we want to grandstand. We're not here because we want to sit in front of people. We're here because we want to do what's best for this district. I've been in the district 6 years. And when I didn't see something I didn't like, superintendent will tell you I had no problem contacting him and letting him know my concerns. You have the same right. You have the same capability. And one of the things Ms. Sanders has brought to the board is having us be transparent. And I'm getting a little emotional because this is something that parents, you have the privilege to do here. I don't know what it was in the past, but we're welcoming you all. We're welcoming your comments. That's one of the reasons why we have these forums. And we want to encourage everybody, be an advocate for your children. It's sad to me when I hear that parents are not picking up report cards. It's not just the board's responsibility. Parents have a responsibility as well as the teachers. We all can sit around and point fingers all day long. But we have to work together in order to bring this district to the place that it needs to be. And I'm going to mention, I think Ms. Blaine, I can't remember your last name, sent us an email. And one of the things she said in the email, and yes, I know I do read the emails, and I try to get back to those that send them because that's important to me. I'm a parent as well. If I send an email, I would want a response, even if it's a, yes, I got the email. But she mentioned that she would like to see this district be a prideful place, a place where we are all glad to be a part of. And that's why we're here. Like she mentioned, we don't get paid a penny, nothing. That rumor's out there. We don't get paid anything. The only payment that we get is the satisfaction of being able to say, yes, I did it. Yes, I helped. Yes, I listened. Yes, I was concerned. So once again, I'm encouraging all of you parents, continue to come out to the meetings, continue to be a voice for your child, continue to be the one that stands up and says, I can do this, I can help here, I can volunteer here. Because without the parent support, the test scores will not go up, the district will not be where it needs to be. If we continue to turn our faces and act like things are not happening, we will not see the achievement that we want to see. It's not all on the teachers, and for the record, I am a teacher, so I see it from that perspective as well. It's not all on the teachers. It's not all on administration. It's not all on the board. Let's come together and decide that we're going to do this thing together. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Glenn?
Well, I just wanted to assure everybody, first of all, I've been a member of this district for 18 years. I have 4 children in our district schools, and I love this district as much as everybody else does who's here tonight. And obviously you do because you care enough to come out and you want your voices heard. For those of you that think that we're not listening, that decisions have been made already, I'm here to tell you decisions have not been made. That's why we have hosted these forums. We want to hear from all of you. I want to hear the stories. I want to hear your ideas. And I think that as a group, then we can come back together. I mean, all these figures, these are presented to us by the professionals who have been hired to work in this district and to present us with statistics. But just as important to me as a board member, as a taxpayer, as a parent, is all of the stories and all of the people behind those stories and seeing your faces and hearing what you have to say and what your feelings are. I'm the same way. I'm a parent. And I represent all of you being on this board, and each one of us brings something back to this board. And we come together as a group and we brainstorm and we try, all of us, I can assure you that, at all times to make the decision that is in the best interest of everybody, not of the administration, not of certain teachers, certain principals, certain administrators. It's what's in the best interest of the kids and what's in the best interest of the district. And for those people who don't have kids in the district, we're also considering what's in the best interest of our taxpayers. Not everybody who's a taxpayer in our district obviously has kids in our district, and we do have to consider all of those things in making our decisions. So I want to thank everybody who came out tonight and everybody who came out to our last forum, because I can tell you I listened to everybody, and I will consider what you've had to say in making our decision. Thank you.
Mr. Eisel.
Okay. Since everybody's talking about longevity, I've been connected to Crete Monee for 38 years, a little longer than the rest of them. That's as a resident, as a parent, as an administrator in the district, as a board member. When I was just a resident, it was a lot easier. I'm a numbers person. It's my background. It's the way I think, and one of the things that I look at. And we've talked a lot about that. We've talked about the fact that we have to make up $3.6 million, and I understand where you're coming from. My son was in the band. He played soccer, and he played tennis. And I think it was about 14, 15 years ago when we made the big cuts and cut $3 million out of the budget at that time. The minor sports were all wiped out. Band was gutted. And we raised the money, and we're allowed to pay for those positions on our own as parents. It wasn't easy, but we did it. And now the laws have changed somewhat, so we can't really just go out to you and say raise the money and pay for those positions, because the state says we can't do that anymore. But we do have to look at the problem. We know how you feel. I know how you feel. I sat on that side and said nasty things to board members 14 years ago. I listened to it a lot at home. My wife's nice enough not to come here, but she's been on my back about a lot of this for quite a while, since the beginning. I was in Springfield last Wednesday. The news I got was devastating. Most of the money that the state owes schools and other agencies right now that won't be paid, or that doesn't get paid, or that they forget to send the checks out by June 30th will probably not be paid at all. They'll roll the mythical money over into the general fund for fiscal year 11, which means we just lose that money. The governor is talking about a 15% cut in education. If that hits the foundation level, Mr. Rogers told you we're talking $2 to $3 million more. We'll know Wednesday. Now, granted, that won't be the final thing, but we have to prepare for it, because we can't pass a budget and then have the state cut our legs out from under us and say, gee, that $35 million budget you passed, you're only going to get $17 million. It just isn't fair. So the decisions are tough. They're not easy. I would urge you, and you've heard this before tonight, get involved. I will spend the next 3 days up in St. Charles working with people with the Illinois State Board of Education about funding in many different ways, and related to both the federal, the Race to the Top, which Illinois is one of the finalists in, and maintaining some other federal funding that we get. A week later, I'll be back down in Springfield working with the legislators. Now, I don't know how many of you have contacted. I know Yolanda has, and I know some of you have. Call them up. Send them emails, because the word that I get from Springfield now, and I hear this over and over again, they will do nothing about increasing revenues until after the election. What we may see happen between now and the fall will be a 6-month budget which will be built on whole cloth with nothing to back it up. We aren't getting the payments for a very simple reason. The money's not there. I called the comptroller's office last week looking for some funds that he owes my office. I was told, forget it. It was just that simple, 2 words, forget it. It's not coming. Okay? So the problem's endemic. And I'm glad to see you here, but I want you to do something for me, is that stay involved. Because, you know, last year when we cut $1.8 million out of this year's budget, and it had virtually no impact on programs, we had board meetings with 3 people out in the audience. And I know it hurts, because when the programs hit, it means my kids, my children, their futures. But when we cut that $1.8 million, it also had an impact, because as it was said earlier tonight, anytime you cut $1, you can't say it doesn't affect children, because it does. That's what it's all for. Thank you for your involvement. Thank you for your comments. Even those of you who are mad at us, thanks, because we've got to hear from you. If you get my answering machine at home, there's a reason for that. But thank you for leaving a message, and please leave one that I can play for my child.
For the most part, I think a lot of people know who I am. I've been up here and involved in Crete Monee for, I want to say not 38 years like Tom has, but at least 25, because my daughter and my son are both graduates of Crete Monee. They spent their entire educational lives here in Crete Monee, so I know the history of going through K through 12 in this district. The only comment that I really want to make tonight, everybody's thanked everybody, and I want to do the same thing. I see a lot of people here that I've known through the years. Thank you for coming out this evening. It's good to see your faces again and stuff. However, look at all of the number of chairs that are empty. I pulled into the parking lot this evening and parked in the circle of the high school for the second most important meeting of the school board in the school district of this year, and probably for the next couple of years of this entire district. And the apathy that I saw with the lack of the people showing up over here and stuff is truly, I want to say amazing, but I understand after being in this district this many years. Again, the gentleman over on the side over there makes the comment that it's not the board's fault that we're in this position. It's all everybody's fault that lives in this district. I totally agree with that response. However, I want to hold the state of Illinois and the representatives that are down there accountable for their actions also. We wouldn't be in this position without their lack of insight and the ability to make some hard decisions. So I really don't want to tie too much of that up, but again, thank you very much for coming out this evening. If you have questions or comments, please contact your local board member or any of us up here. We'll be glad to answer any questions that you have or any questions that you will have in the near future. As Mr. Sevier and Superintendent Rogers have said, there's nothing been written in stone on this. The decisions have not been made. There are simply suggestions, and our optimism is to try not to do as bad. Cutting is what we're going to do, but again, the state is going to force our hand, and we're going to have to play the hand that we're being dealt. So again, thank you for coming out this evening, and hope to see you again soon with some better news. Thank you very much.
Ms. Stockton.
I've been on the board this is my 4th year, and I ran for the board for the reason that I was here for the kids. This is really hard for me to see, just like everyone, has tears in their eyes for the band. It hurts me too. I mean, I've never played, but I'm part of the Marion group that knows what a marching band should be and knows that this school can have it just as well. And, my husband grew up in this district, and he went through the whole thing, and his sisters did too, and they were in music, and they loved it all. And I know what you're feeling, but, I also agree with everyone. We have certain things that we have to do, and, I thank everyone for their comments, and we do take them to heart. And sometimes I think I take them a little too much to heart and go home and complain to my husband about it. But thank you very much for your comments and coming. And like Mark says, we need more of you. We need to hear from everyone. And, I sometimes say we don't, I'm from Monee, and I need more people from Monee to tell me things, to come here. And also, because you're part of, this is Crete, Monee, University Park, and Park Forest. Everyone should be here. And we need your comments. And thank you so much for, letting us know how you feel.
Superintendent Rogers.
I just want to thank everybody who did come out, and I felt the sincerity, especially from our students, which is the closest to me, for their courage and their bravery to take the time and to put their thoughts on paper. Certainly, I don't want you to think, and the parents who spoke tonight or community members, that it is falling on deaf ears or that decisions have been made. In fact, one of the things under new business is to talk about one or two more board meetings, one of being which to talk about budget scenarios or revisions based on two factors. One, the things that we've heard over the two community forums, and also what we may have to do in light of what Governor Quinn may say to us on Wednesday. So I would encourage all of us to, listen to the news. It's going to really be a fateful decision, sad to say, I think, as to what Quinn may or may not say on March 10th. It certainly is going to be in the newspapers and be on television. But whatever our state legislators come up with, we still will have some time, I assume, in the months of April and May to let our voices be heard. And certainly there's never a time such as this one where we really need to galvanize and let our voices be heard in the state and in the nation, because our country and our economy is in deep trouble. But yet we're going to have intelligent and responsible leadership to be able to respond to the difficult times that we're in. So I appreciate you coming out tonight and for all that you've said.
And I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you all for coming out. This board, I can say this honestly, has had some sleepless nights regarding this issue. It affects us all. I have 3 kids. I have two children left in the district that affects them as well. When I first came to this district, I was faced with a failing school when I first got here. I took the time to put together an after-school program to get involved, not for the benefit of my children, but for the benefit of the district as well. I made a decision to run for this seat because I felt like that the district needed to come together as a whole to become a unified district for the benefit of all students, all parents, all teachers, and administrators in this district. Some people sit up here and say, well, we look like we're not interested in what you have to say. No, we're truly, truly listening, trying to take in what you have to say. Some people say, well, your facial expressions say this, your facial expressions say that. It has nothing to do with the facial expression. It has to do with me and everybody else up here and their own personalities. We have to be able to sit before you because none of us have missed these forums. Each and every board member has been here to hear each and everyone's complaint or concern that came up to that mic. We're here, but we have to be able to control our emotions too. This is difficult for us. It's difficult for us to hear the stories that you're bringing to us, as well as the students who are bringing to us, who are truly going to be affected by the decisions that have to be made. as they stated before, some of us are at the point of tears, but we have to have a demeanor that is comfortable for us to be able to sit up here and hear the issues and your concerns. It's not meant to be disrespectful. It's not meant to come across as being arrogant. That's not what we're up here for. Nobody signed up to come up here to showcase themselves or anything of that nature. I assure you, none of us enjoy being in this situation to have to make this decision, because it's difficult. And when it's all said and done, as the gentleman came up and stated, we're all responsible for it, but what you hear at the end of the day is the board made the decision, which is the reason why we are asking you at these forums, and we're open to hearing what your concerns are. We want to make the best decisions that are in the best interest for the district as a whole. Some of them going to come across as being right. Some of them are going to come across as being wrong. But we are trying to do the best that we possibly can based on the information that we are receiving from you as well as from the administration as to what we think is in the best interest for this district. So once again, I want to say thank you for your comments, and thank you for coming out. And I'd like to have a motion to go into close. Okay. Do we have any old business? Any new business?
New business would just be, I sent through an FYI to the board, a proposal to consider 2 dates that we would meet, and I know that you're tired, but I personally feel that it's needful, and if these dates don't work for you, then we can pick other dates. But for sure, we need to have one date. I had proposed March the 22nd, which would be the Monday after the regular board meeting, for the following reasons. One, we need to talk about budget scenarios / revisions based on, again, what we've heard through our community forums, as well as a response to the governor's address that we'll hear this Wednesday. 2, depending again on what the financial situation may look like in another few days, we may have to continue to talk about district restructuring of schools or concerns or info. And then finally, if we get a chance to talk about a revision in the graduation policy at the high school and the implications of that. So that was one meeting. The second meeting is one to put down as just tentative, because I will know if you agree to make it tentative. I will put the necessary calls in this week and let you know no later than the end of this week or by the next board meeting. I thought it would be important to invite our state legislators here for the last Monday of this month, March the 29th. That would be Lisa Dugan, Tony DeLuca, and Toy Hutchinson, to talk to the board as well as to our community members who may be interested in coming out as to their ideas and responses to the state's or to the governor's address and his budget. I personally, I was telling my administrators today, I don't feel that whatever the governor says has to be the final word. It's up to our legislators to be thoughtful enough to give counter proposals. And so I think it's important that our legislators are able to articulate what it is that they're going to stand on and stand for. And I have contacted them. They said they would be interested if I could give them a date. And I can't give them a date unless the board confirms a date. So March 22nd and March 29th. I'd like to try to limit, especially if we do the 29th, to only 2 hours. That would be if our state legislators agree to it, and the 22nd, hopefully to 2 hours minimum, 3 hours max, because again, just the sake of time that we've been spending for the month of March. So I want to know if the board is, open to the 22nd and to the 29th.
How's the calendar? Is that a 6:30 for the 22nd?
Yes. Actually, it would be 6:30 for both of them, probably.
Okay. So we're in agreement for the 22nd and 29th at 6:30. Is it going to be here?
Well, the 22nd would probably be at central office, and the 29th, if it's a true community forum, would be here if, again, if the state legislators agree to come.
All right. Okay.
Excuse me. So are we doing, what's the general board meeting on the 15th? Is the agenda still the same in light of these two additional meetings?
Yes, because I still think that if we have to make reductions, there was automatically built into the scenario a callback scenario, meaning a callback plan. And but I think that we need to proceed with at least the reduction in force on the 15th as planned, and if things change budget-wise where we can call people back, that we can still do that between the March board meeting and the April board meeting.
And would you just reiterate why we're pushing these dates due to legal timelines?
Yes. By law, if you're going to make reductions in teaching staff or administrators, it has to be 60 days before the last day of the school year. So usually, traditionally, reductions of any sort, whether it be by cause or by just reduction in force, is usually made in most districts around the state, either in your March board meeting or no later than your April board meeting. And again, I don't want to, well, I'll leave it at that. It's usually at March or the April board meeting.
Okay.
And I think it's best to do it in March, because if there's changes, then you still have April to either reconstruct some of the things that you need to do, or if you have to go deeper, you still have that opportunity if that's absolutely what must happen.
And we do need to reiterate that if Governor Quinn does state that there is going to be a 15% cut in state funding, we will have to look to cut deeper, which means that we will be once again looking at all programs that, once again, we'll be looking at everything again, all over again, because we may have to cut an additional $2 to $3 million beyond the recommendations that we received so far. So I do want to reiterate that based on his announcement on Wednesday.
I know you said that we would hear that Thursday. Will we be able to come back to our partners and let them know what those cuts might be, or the proposed at either of these meetings?
I'm sure by that meeting in March, or at the latest a special meeting in April, we probably will have the final picture. It's my hope that we will have the final picture as to what those cuts will be.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here now as the board president, and I'm saying to myself, I don't know how we're going to get that extra $2 or $3 million. The decisions that are being made right now are tough, and we're basically going to be down almost to just a core academic institution, and that's going to be, I know we did that in the past, about 10 years ago or so, but I would hate to see us have to go back to that particular situation. And in reference to a person's question earlier regarding a referendum, even if we did a referendum, it would take 2 years out before we saw the money, so the cuts would have to be done anyway before we can get to that point. So it's a tough situation for education in the state of Illinois, and we're going to do our best to try to do what's in the best interest for all involved.
But in direct answer to your question, Kim, yes, no later than the March 22nd. That's really why I want the board meeting on the 22nd, because I don't know if this administration would have time to present a well-thought-out alternative to Governor Quinn's speech. I can tell the audience right now, and I'm not trying to be facetious when I say when I heard it, but last night I did look at the Oscars, and after that there was the 11 o'clock news. It's been in the paper that the budget director of the state has already announced in sort of in essence what the speech is going to be about. But last night, which really sort of in my mind sealed the deal, is that the quote came directly from Governor Quinn himself, and it was on the news where he said himself, this wasn't one of his directors or anybody else, he said, when Wednesday comes, we will be talking about cuts, and he talked about a $1.44 billion cut in education. This was a quote from him directly. So Wednesday, we still need to hear the speech. We need to see the document. I'm sure it's going to be put online. There's going to be a series of things that's going to happen with ISBE, because I think that the governor is just going to give a number. The state agency of ISBE is going to have to determine how to translate that into what that cut actually looks like. That's going to require some time on our part to create some financial scenarios as how do we respond to that. And so that's why the 22nd, I don't think we would be ready to give any kind of response by the next board meeting, which is just next Monday, the 15th. That's why I think we need to continue with what we've planned still as a tentative, because reduction in force does not mean that you cannot call people back. But if the governor has made that announcement, there's going to have to be some other scenarios presented to the board. And by the 22nd, we would be able to present those to the board, and they would be presented in closed session because they would be presented attached to personnel issues which are protected by law to have those conversations.
And just so that the audience understands, even though the governor makes the recommendation, it goes to the House and the Senate. The earliest we can expect a budget from them, it would probably be May, and that's the end of May, which means we'll have to make all our decisions long before they ever come up with a budget. And remember, they could promise to give us anything. It's whether or not they write the check.
Any other new business? You have a need for a closed session?
Yes. Moved.
Can I have a motion to go in closed session for personnel and discipline issues? All in favor?
Aye.
We're now in closed. We will